Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for coming to class tonight. Tonight, we are going to be covering the buyer template and working with the buyer as far as how to open up a new transaction in TransactionDesk. So to start, when you need to get to TransactionDesk, if you've never done TransactionDesk as an agent, your first time when you log in, it is going to be your NERDS number, which you can find up here in the right-hand corner under your initials, under your profile, and here's your NERDS ID right here. So you need that number. Then if you don't have TransactionDesk saved to your shortcut, which is up here on the top of your MLS screen, you can go to Menu, find TransactionDesk under Products. If you come over here to the left of it and there's, a little star, if you click on that star, that'll then add it to your Favorites tab. I recommend you adding it because this is something that you are going to be going in and out of constantly. So just go ahead and add it as a favorites. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. You can just click TransactionDesk from here. So let's go ahead and click on that. Because I've already logged into TransactionDesk, it's going to take me directly into TransactionDesk. But let's say I was not logged in. Hopefully this does what I want it to do. I think it's going to take me back there. It did. Okay, so if you're not logged in, this is the screen that it's going to take you to. Gosh darn it, it's not doing what I wanted. Anyways, it'll take you to a completely different screen. If you scroll down on the page a little bit, you'll see TransactionDesk. It'll look very similar to this. Click on that, then it will bring you here. But again, if it's your first time, you need to enter in your NERDS number, and your password will be your last name, and it should be in all capital letters. Let me just verify real quick. Yes, it's your last name as a password. It may or may not be uppercase or lowercase, but just know first time ever logging in, you need your NERDS number and your last name as the password. You can go ahead and change that, and it will change it and save it for you. But when you first log into TransactionDesk, it's going to bring you to your agent dashboard. The first thing we're going to do tonight is we're going to set up our buyer template. So if I'm ever on the phone with you and I'm talking to you about being on your dashboard and working off the left-hand side or the right-hand side, know that anytime you are not in a specific transaction, I'm always going to have you work off the left-hand side of your agent dashboard. So if you go down second to the bottom, you'll see templates. Go ahead and click on that. Click on transaction templates. Yours is probably going to have maybe one that says ProSmart Docs that doesn't have anything in it, so you don't even need it. Don't delete it though, because it's a ProSmart file. So you may not have any transaction templates, but that's okay. You want to go over here to the right-hand side and click on the add plus sign, and you want to create a template. Today we're going to name it working with a buyer / purchase, or whatever is going to remind you of, oh, this is the template I use when I have a buyer. So working with a buyer. Purchase. The type is going to be a residential purchase. And then the description can be something short and sweet. Again, just something that you are going to remember, or that triggers your memory that this is the template you want to use when you have a buyer. Something simple like that. Go ahead and save it. Once you save it, if you scroll down to documents and forms, you'll notice that it's empty. But we want to actually add a couple documents because there are going to be specific documents that will transfer, or that you'll use more, is a better word, from transaction to transaction. And these documents can actually be found in Paperless Pipeline. So I'm going to quickly jump over to Paperless Pipeline. And up top, you'll see reference. You click on that, you'll probably see this. You'll see docs and it has 16 documents in it. Go ahead and click the plus sign. It'll drop down all of the ProSmart specific documents. And the ones that we want to check or save, more or less, is then going to be uploaded into our TransactionDesk. So if I'm working with a buyer, more often than not, more often than not, some of these forms will or will not be used. Like lead-based paint pamphlet, the only time I'm ever going to need that is if I have a house that is older than 1978. But this is a document that I need sometimes when I'm working with the buyer. So I'm going to go ahead and save that as a PDF. And I'm going to save it somewhere on my computer. I have it saved as the lead-based paint pamphlet. Save that. Just overwrite it. Okay. The next document that I know that I'm probably going to need on every transaction is a mold advisory. So same thing. Just open it, save it, and then we'll upload it to our transaction. I'm not going to do all of this. I'm just showing you a couple of examples. The other one that you'll need is pool safety notice. So go ahead and save that. Pool safety notice is going to be used if you have a home that has a pool. It does not have to be used. Oh, I think it does actually have to be used if it's like a condo and there is a pool. So I would just, I would go ahead and use it if it's a condo and there is a community pool. For your benefit, I would just go ahead and use it. You may or may not need it, but more documents is better than less. Post-possession agreement. I don't upload this to my listings or my purchase agreement template only because rarely do I have a post-possession, and a post-possession is kind of like a lease back. That is where you close on the home, but the seller needs to rent it back from the new owner, and this agreement is put into place. Again, you're not always going to use it. You can upload it if you want. It's completely up to you. I don't have it in my template, but again, that is one that you could possibly use. So if you want to save time, you could save it. The walkthrough form, let's go ahead and click on that. This is already in your form, so you don't need this one. But if you ever needed to quickly access it, you could find it here. And then I always have my buyers sign the wire fraud advisory. It's just another form that protects me, stating that I advise my clients of the risk of doing wire transfers. Completely up to you. But I would have your buyers and your sellers sign this form. Again, it's not a required form, but I always like to protect myself, so I have them sign that. The other form that you might possibly use often is the commission adjustment form. So go ahead and save that into your files, and then we'll upload that as well. And the reason why I say you're going to be using this form a lot, especially with all the changes in our industry, is because let's say you have a buyer broker agreement for 3%. But the home that your buyer is buying is only paying 2.5%. And you have agreed to reduce your commission from 3% to 2.5%. So your buyer doesn't come out of pocket for your compensation. This is the form that you need to submit with your transaction to Paperless Pipeline, showing that while your buyer agreement says 3, the seller's only paying 2.5 and you are agreeing to reduce your commission. So this is definitely one that I have in my transaction template for my buyers. Okay. So let's go ahead and add a document. Just remember where you saved them and just start uploading them. I'm only going to upload one because I think I'll show you my actual template after this. So let's just do full safety. So it'll show up here once it's been uploaded. Any questions so far? Perfect. Okay. So the next section, well, before we do that, let me actually show you my transaction, my template, so that you know, and you can write down all the forms or documents, I should say. Oops, that's the wrong one. So I have commission adjustment form, lead-based paint pamphlet, the mold advisory, the pool safety notice, and the wire fraud. So these are the ones that is always going to come up when I have when I create a transaction and I'm working with the buyer. So if you want to just take a screenshot of that, just so you can go back later when you're actually doing your transaction template, so that you can make sure you have those forms. Okay. And since I'm in this one, I'm just going to go here because it'll go a little bit faster for you. So these forms are the AAR forms, the Arizona Association of Real Estate Forms. And these are the forms that we can find in TransactionDesk, and you probably won't have any in there, but go ahead and take a quick screenshot of this. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I think I've got 22 or 23 in here. But go ahead and take a screenshot of this top, and then I'm going to scroll down to the bottom half so you can get all those in your photos, and you can go back and make sure that you have them all. But we will go over them. Okay, and then, oops, then these. Go ahead and take a picture of that. Perfect. So real quick, just because we are recording this, I am going to list all of the forms that you should have in your buyer template, or at least I have them in mind. And these are not going to be forms that you're going to use on every single one of your transactions. It's going to be transaction specific. So first, it's the addendum. I do an addendum 1 and an addendum 2. Buyer pre-closing walkthrough. Make sure you've got the most current revision. Buyer contingency addendum. Additional clause addendum. Counter offer 1. You can even do a counter offer 2, which I have here. Solar addendum. Residential buyer inspection notice and seller's response, otherwise known as the BINSR. HOA condominium planned community addendum. Domestic water well addendum, buyer. The buyer broker agreement to show a property, buyer broker exclusive employment agreement. Real estate agency disclosure and election, buyer. Residential purchase contract. Seller compensation addendum. While we do not use it in our brokerage, the compensation agreement between brokers and the buyer advisory. So again, these are just the ones that I have in my buyer template. You may choose to not put it in there, and you may choose to put ones that I don't have in mine in yours. If you ever want to go back through and add any of them, like, this is your first time, go ahead and click in the add button and just go ahead and start searching addendum. And you can click in the little bubble all of the ones that you need. Buyer contingency. Just clicking a couple of them. Okay. Once you've clicked all of the ones that have the word addendum in them, then you can do another search like walkthrough. It'll pull up the walkthrough. You do not have to exit out of this, but notice how my little cart over here is going up in numbers. That's because every time I click on one, it adds it to my basket. Same with counteroffer. Click the ones that apply. Some people will put the multiple counter offer in. This is just when you're going to make multiple offers on houses when you're working with a buyer. I don't recommend using that, but if your client is wanting to put in multiple offers on different homes, and then they will go with the one that takes their offer, you can use this form. It's just not one that I use often, and I'll explain that in future classes. Solar, add it, and so on. So we won't do that tonight in class, but when you get the opportunity to create your own transaction, just make sure that you have all the ones that you took screenshots on in your transaction desk. And you can always, say, hey, Tina, did I do this right? I can't go in and look, but I can definitely look at your screenshots and I can let you know if you're missing any. Now notice these that have the 8/24 dates by them. These are because of all the new changes in our industry as far as how buyer agents are paid. So you have to make sure that you have this date on all of these forms in your transaction template. Any questions so far? Perfect. So the reason why we're doing templates is oops, got a question. Oh, perfect. Okay, so the reason why we're doing the templates is to make your life easier. So go ahead and click on the residential purchase contract. If you haven't uploaded it into your forms, it's okay. You can revisit this class later or go ahead and take a quick moment to make sure you upload that to your TransactionDesk template. I'll give you just a moment. Okay, so once you're in your TransactionDesk template form, the buyer purchase agreement, residential purchase agreement, sorry, there's things that you can do that will auto-populate the next time you create a transaction. So that's what we're going to do tonight. So you'll notice I checked these boxes over here. That is because it saves me time when I'm sending my contract to my clients. They are not going to have to go and individually check all these. I go ahead and check them for them. And then when I send them a contract, I just have them initial this first page. I drop a little quick initial on it, and it'll say that they have reviewed it and they agreed to it. Okay, so go ahead and check those. The next thing is on the first page of the residential purchase contract. We want to put anything that will go that will repeat from one contract to another or one transaction to another. So if you go to line 11 on earnest money, after that, type to be paid within 48 hours of contract acceptance. So this is going to auto-populate the next time you open a transaction. Doesn't mean that you can't change it on the one that you're typing, because you absolutely can. This is just going to auto-type it for you so you don't have to spend the time doing that. Line 12, type additional funds to be paid at close of escrow. Line 17, check other, and then write wire transfer personal check. The reason why I do that is because you don't know how your client is going to pay. You don't know how they're going to pay. Are they going to pay with a personal check or a wire transfer? If you do other and write both, they could pay either way and you are covered. Line 18, check escrow company. Line 37, this is very important. Check seller compensation. Because if you do not submit your offer with not only this checked, but also a seller compensation addendum or agreement, then the buyer is now responsible to pay your compensation. Of course, this is negotiable. I'm just saying that every single time you submit an offer, this should be checked. So I automatically check it. That way I don't forget. Oops, there that is. I'm deleting that. Let's see, line 111, check buyer. While this is negotiable, most buyers pay for their own appraisal. Title and escrow company, you can actually go ahead and type this out now because Snap Title is our preferred title company. Now we changed, so Snap Title, Patrick Bailey. It could even be Amy Dalton. So one of those two. That is 4145 East Guild Baseline Road. Gosh, darn it. Arizona 85234. Depending on which title company rep you go with, it's either going to be Patrick at snaptitle.com or A Dalton at snaptitle.com. And then their phone number 480-870-8013. So you can go ahead and type that in. Oh, I'll scroll back up in case you want to take a quick picture of that. But you can type that in so the next time you do an offer, it's already there. And like I said, if you don't want to use that title company, you can just overwrite it. Line 242, check sewer system. If it is on septic, you can just uncheck that and check conventional septic system. An alternative system is rarely used here in the valley. You might see that if you are licensed up in the mountains, but usually it's either sewer system or conventional, and most times it's sewer. So I just go ahead and check it. Okay, home warranty. So I'm going to try to have a home warranty ordered by the buyer. I don't know what company, so I'm going to put to be determined, TBD, and then issued by to be determined at a cost of, and I just put $750 in. And I actually want the seller to pay for that, so I'm going to go ahead and check seller. So that way, anytime I type up an offer, I'm going to just automatically go ahead and put that in there, and then I can change it as needed, but at least it'll be in there. Let's see. Okay. And then line 443 through 448, this is going to be your information. So your name, your MLS code, your agent state license number. Line 446 should read ProSmart Realty. The firm MLS code is PSMT01. Our firm address has changed, so let me update that. Our firm address is now 4147 East Baseline Road, Gilbert, Arizona, 85234. That's our broker's license number. It's your phone number and your email. Line 450 should be checked buyer. And then line 464 checked seller. Once you've done all that, go ahead up to the top in the circle with the X. If you hover over it, it'll say save and exit. Go ahead and click that. So what that just did is it just saved everything that we just put on there onto your template. So every time you open up a new transaction, which we will practice how to do that before class ends, it'll auto-populate everything. Super cool. Scroll back down and go to your forms. And go to let's go to the buyer broker exclusive employment agreement, because this is one that we can put stuff on and then save it. Line 2, put broker's name, ProSmart Realty. Agent will be you. If you're on a team and you have a team lead, their name might go here. Otherwise, just leave it blank. Line 13, check residential or land if you're going to be strictly land, or if you're commercial, click commercial. Most of our transactions are going to be residential, so I go ahead and I check that. Our agency relationship is as set forth in the real estate agency disclosure and election form, which we will do next. So go ahead and click that. Line 34, I go ahead and check it and I put 3%. I am always going to try to get what I'm worth. So I explain it to my clients, listen, I'm gonna go ahead and put 3%, but if the seller only offers me 2.5%, it's putting a lot of faith and trust in me that I will reduce my commission on the back end prior to closing. You do not have to do that. That is just my business model. That is how I've always done it. That is how I'm going to continue doing it. So 3% it is. Maybe I'll get it, maybe I won't, but I'm always gonna try to get it. Because if you put 2, but the seller's gonna pay 3, you don't get that extra 1% that goes to your buyer. So put 3. Line 54, just leave it blank or put 0. I've never gone after a client and said, hey, my relationship with you expired, but I see that you went back and you bought this house, 29 days after my expiration date. My contract said 30 days. Now you owe me. I'm not going to do that to them. So just leave it blank or put 0. Again, it's up to you, but you'd have to prove that you were the reason why they ended up buying that house. Line 112, put ProSmart Realty. Line 113, put our new address, 4147 East Baseline Road, Gilbert 85234. And then you can put your name down below. This is the buyer's info. So that is it for this one. Go ahead and save it. Go back to forms and go to the where's my agency form? Do I not have it? Huh, that's weird. Maybe because it got updated and they deleted the old one. Real estate agency disclosure and election buyer. You definitely need that. So go ahead and add it. There it is. Oh, I did have it in there. I just can't read. Okay, I can go back and delete it. Line 1, ProSmart Realty. Line 2, your name. If you have a team lead, their name would go here. Scroll down line 48, check that. Line 50, check that. That is basically stating that you are representing them as a buyer's agent. You can also show them your listings. Scroll down, check line 60, buyer. That's it. Go ahead and save that one. And I'm going to delete this duplicate. Perfect. Okay. So if you want to, you can pre-fill out the buyer broker agreement to show properties, but I do not. I do not use that form because I don't want to quote unquote date someone. I want them to use me because they've been referred to me, they trust me. And if we do enter into an employment agreement and they don't want to work with me, 9 times out of 10, I don't want to work with them anyways. So I'm just going to end the relationship and I'm going to terminate the agreement. So showing a property is just me showing them. And if I write the offer, then I get paid. I don't want to do that. If I'm going to put in the work, I'm going to get paid for it. So just, again, your comfort level and the comfort level of your client, I guess, because I don't want you to lose a client because they're not willing to go into a relationship with you, AKA the employment agreement. But again, I don't pre-fill it out because it's not one that I've ever used and I don't hopefully plan to ever use it, but it's there if you need it. Any questions about the forms and what we filled out? Perfect. So I am going to Assume that you took photos of the documents and you took photos of the form so that when you have time this evening, you're going to go back through and you're going to create your own transaction template working with a buyer, and you're going to upload all the correct forms and you're going to fill them out as we spoke about tonight. I can email this class back to you tonight, probably tomorrow though, to be honest, because it takes a little bit to upload. And so that you can review it if needed, or just call me and ask. But definitely go through it, try it, and if you have any questions, like, am I supposed to do it this way? Am I supposed to do it that way? Just let me know. Okay. So that is really the only thing that you need to do on your transaction template. If you want to, I guess, you could put in your contacts. Let me delete that. That was an old one. That's from my listing broker. So my contacts is your ProSmart Realty and then your buyer's agent. So if you want to, you could put your contacts in, completely up to you. Go for it, but you don't have to. And that is it. So you just created a buyer, working with a buyer purchase template. So now let's go back to the agent dashboard, which you go over to the left-hand side, top icon, dashboard, click on that. And let's create a transaction. So let's just put in a random address. Definitely not the zip code, but you get my point. So let's just put in the address. You can name your templates anything that you want. You can name it by the person's name. If you're doing a buyer broker agreement, you could just put in the actual name of your client. You can put in the property address. I like to put in property addresses if I'm writing a contract. So property address, template. I want to choose my template. I'll have to go back and delete my duplicate. But working with a buyer purchase contract. And the reason why I want to do that is because it's going to pull up everything that we just did and it's going to auto-populate. If you want to import data from the MLS, which I actually recommend, go ahead and choose the armless, and then you will need the MLS number, which you can find in the MLS right here. You can find it here. Yep, that's the only place. Okay, copy and paste that. And what that is going to do is it's going to auto-populate any information in the MLS, like the seller's information, their broker's number, their license number, all that fun stuff. Add me as the buyer agent if you choose to do that. And you can use the wizard, which is going to be like a step-by-step process of what you need to do. If you are new at TransactionDesk, I highly recommend clicking that. But I've never used it, and I actually don't like to put me as an agent because for some reason it always duplicates it. So this is how I put it in. If you want to take a quick screenshot of that, you're more than welcome to. But when you're ready to create it, just create, and it is going to create a new transaction. Okay. So when I'm on the phone talking to you and I'm saying on the right-hand side, when you're inside your transaction, this is in your transaction. These are the links that you need to work off of, not the left side. And again, it's because I'm in the transaction. So if you want to, you can fill out this information, but because I uploaded it from the MLS, everything should have transferred over. Okay. Some of it might not be right. So just double check it, but everything looks good to me. You can also put in these detailed dates down here, which is nice. Like you can put in your acceptance date, closing date. Closing date should be the possession date. You can fill out all this fun stuff if you want. I never have, but there's some really good stuff that you can get off of this. I've just never used it. Doesn't mean you can't. Sure, there's some really cool stuff you can do with it. I've just never done it. So once you've created a transaction, the first thing that you want to do is you want to come over here and you want to go to your contacts. And you want to enter in all of this information. And again, this info is pulled from the MLS. But if your broker is not on here and you're not on here, you just come up over here to the add contacts and go ahead and add yourself, whether you're an existing contact or you can create a new. But I'm already in here. But notice how it says as the seller EXP client. Well, that's obviously not the client's name, so we need to edit that. So if you go back to the listing in the MLS and you click on Monsoon, right here is the owner's name, and it's in a trust, which is fine. It's actually two people, one of it's in a trust. I'm just looking right here to make sure nothing changed as far as like the owner's name. Okay. Go back to TransactionDesk. Over here, the three little bubbles, click on that and hit edit. And then the seller type doesn't change, but the first name is going to change. So it's Amy W. Hunt. Delete the legal name. Oops, delete that too. And then save it. But because there's two sellers, one is the woman and then one's the trust. So create a new transaction and then make another seller. And this one is going to be Ethan. Oops. I'm weird and I like everything in lowercase or case appropriate. That's the second seller. And I'm not putting a legal name because if I don't put a legal name, it's automatically going to put Ethan Samuel Hunt Trust. Save it. EXP is a listing broker. This is a listing agent. It looks like there's two listing agents. So one of them should be a co-list. Go back to the listing and see who the co-list is. So Jeffrey is the main listing. Jennifer is the co-list. So we are going to change the title. Oh, I guess it doesn't give us the option to. Okay, just listing agent then, whatever. All right, so the first thing you do is you update your contacts, and the reason why is because when you go to type the contract, it's going to populate that information in. So go to your forms, scroll down to your buyer purchase contract, click on that. We are not going to fill it out. I just want to show you that because we did our template, it auto-populated it. Oh, you could put your buyer's name in the contact. Sorry, I skipped that part. So I'll do that before we leave. Or you can just go ahead and type it. Let's say I'm the buyer. And my husband is also a buyer. Okay. So it populated the seller's names. Make sure the address looks good, the assessor's number populates, the legal description populates, and then you just start typing your offer. Well, you get it, not doing it right as far as what the purchase price is. But anyways, now you just populate it, or you type it out. Everything that you did on your transaction template auto-populated. So you just fill out everything else that is appropriate to your offer. You know, type of financing, you were asking for any seller concession. Oh, my title agency didn't auto-populate. That was weird. I'll have to look into that, but it should auto-populate because I did put it on there. It might not have because I didn't choose it as a contact. I will look into that. Do you have any questions on how to create a transaction? Okay. And then just because I forgot to add my buyer, if you just go here, you can add it, but because I typed it on the contract, it actually put it over here. You would just need to edit it and put in the email address. That's it. All right, so unless you have any questions, that is it for tonight. Tonight we discussed how to set up a new working with buyer template and how to actually create a transaction in TransactionDesk so that you can then use your template. Thank you so much for coming. Have a great evening. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you. Class will be next Thursday from 6 to 7. Please keep an eye out for the topic that will be discussed, and I will see you then. Have a great evening.